Test 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2. One, two. Okay, excellent. Good night, everyone. This is Dr. Samuel Lombardo, the CEO and Executive Director and agent of SL Models and Talent Agency, LLC. How is everyone doing today? I know that I had mentioned earlier that I was not going to be on this evening, but I wanted it to bring some attention, some things to your attention. So tomorrow I may be online at all during the day. I will let you know between the weather being extremely bad, but also I'm going to be typing up a lot of emails dealing with local newspapers, local magazine writers to start getting things advertised. I have some stuff that's hot off the press that I want to mention. So there's going to be a lot of things going on. I'm also looking to see about scheduling a time to go and actually present SL Models and Talent Agency on the news, both radio hosts as well as face-to-face on television is what I plan to do. Part of what I'm doing tonight is I'm laying it out there that we are opening other offices. And I basically just wanted to pop on for a few moments. If you have not subscribed yet, though, please subscribe at our YouTube channel, SL Models and Talent Agency, LLC. We are the gold icon with the red ring around it. Also, please hit the notifications bell. That way, then you could be alerted when we go on live once again. Also, if you consider becoming a member, please do so. We have 7 different membership packages available for you that you could choose from. I actually pinned them in the comments. So it is www.patreon.com/SLMTA, and we have such nice treats for you there as perks for you for becoming a member. So enjoy that as well. What we're going to be doing, or what I want you to know now, is that we have the Southeast Regional Office developed. We are developing a Mid-Atlantic region with one of our friends, Christy. But she's going to be needing some help. So I'll explain that in a moment. And the Midwest obviously is the hub, okay, which is in the Grand Rapids area. What has been happening is I've been getting some folks interested in wanting to start business. Now, I want to tell you how this is going to work. SLMTA is looking for financially stable, high negotiator as regional officers for specific SLMTA offices. So if you are financially stable and you know how to negotiate, you know the entertainment industry well, we are looking for you, because technically what is going to happen is we want to try to get local offices open. Now they don't have to be like major development offices. And believe it or not, what we're doing right now, like in the Chattanooga area at my home office, we have found out where we can use certain spots for free and still be able to bring income in. Not so much with the income as far as COVID-19 goes, but we are going to be developing our open calls again in the Chattanooga area very soon, and we want to expand that outward. Now, you have the choice of how you want to run your office. So that's the good news. You have the choice of how you want to run your office. The only difference is if you're in one of those handfuls of places where you have to have a license and you have to have an office to actually be able to run legitimately, and you need to be bonded and all that, like New Jersey, New York, Illinois, California, Florida, places like that, soon to be Virginia, then you're going to want to actually make sure that you are stable enough to do that. This will not be a responsibility that I'm going to put on myself. I mean, it's like starting any other company. Now, the other thing is that you have to have a very high sensibility to the SLMTA mission and purpose. If you don't have it and you're just looking for a way to open an office and you're thinking it's a quick dollar, you may actually, it's not going to be relevant to you. So your quick dollar will come if you know business from the get-go. You'll know that you have to have a license if you're in that state. You'll know that you have to have insurance and all that. That's not something that the Midwest region is going to take care of. That's something that you are going to have to be responsible for. If you want to hire people, the best suggestion that I give you is that you focus on 1099 employees. You want to get experienced agents. That's what we're looking for, which is another thing I'm going to talk about here in a minute. But for regional officers, if you want to know what that means that you are the head of your office, okay, within that region. We are looking for the LA region. We are looking for the Chicago region. We are looking for the New York region. We are looking for the Pennsylvania region. We are looking for the Florida region, Texas, and Washington State. Now, they're not technically really regional offices. Your hub region would be in Atlanta if you were starting a office in, say, Florida, Georgia, or something to that sort. Now, yes, it almost turns into franchising, except that you guys are going to be the first original people that will be joining me. So you'd have to believe in the mission and the purpose. And then you'd have to believe in me that what I'm doing is actually purposeful and that it is real. And then you would have to be financially stable. You would have to know how to run an office. You would have to know how to get insurances and things. And you'd have to know how to hire people, okay? Because it is going to be your office. But the thing is that you can do it with very, very little money. Some things you have no control over, like liability insurances and things like that. You don't have control over that. Now, you guys would be reporting to me. Now, the good news is that typically businesses want you to pay up front some kind of a franchise fee, okay? I'm not doing that right now. What I'm doing is I'm looking for people who actually believe in my vision and purpose, okay? and actually can get the ball rolling in that local office, and then to be able to expand outward. In other words, you're going to be our main project. You're going to be what people are asking for. Like, do you have a local office here? Oh, yes. Yes, we do have an office in Georgia now. Yes, we have an office in Virginia now. Yes, we have an office in Connecticut. Yes, we have an office in Pennsylvania. Why? Because of it's it because of it is for you guys that believe in me and my purpose and vision, that it's able to be happening. So in other words, your investment is for you to involve yourself with SLMTA in the forefront. And then what will happen is, as you are making income in the company, the hub office will take 30% of each of the regional offices. So that's basically all we're going to be requesting. However, you guys would have to report the books. You're going to have to show and provide different things when it comes to that. We have a booking system that we could train you on, so that all you have to do is just be set up in the system. It's sophisticated in a way that it actually makes it a lot easier, so that you do not have to like do your own thing and then it turns out to be something else, or things get mixed up. So yes, you can actually use our system when it comes to payroll, things like that. Well, payroll come from your local office. Okay. Now, when we do franchising will probably happen within the next couple of years, because what we plan to do is, after we open the regional offices within the state, then we're going to have divisions. And there will be the Southeast division. There's going to be that division and this and that, okay, within the surrounding areas. And then each state will have its hub office for the franchise and local counties and townships and things like that, that may have like smaller offices of SLMTAs available. Okay, so that is what is happening as far as SLMTA is concerned. We are probably one of the only other agencies that will be formed like this outside of Next, Elites, and them like that. But even that, they are mainly in the hotspot areas. We're going to be locally, globally, and nationally. So we're going to be expanding. And in fact, I could almost promise you that within a month of me continuing to advertise this, because we're already getting people inquiring. In fact, that's what made me decide to pop on tonight, because I've been getting messages tonight about, Florida doesn't have an office like this or whatever, and it'd be nice if they could have something closer. And then, because you seem to be doing very, very good. And then I explained to them what we are doing, what the mission and the purpose is, and then basically like where my background is and things, just to give a little introduction of who I am. And then when it further got developed, I explained to them what they needed to do to be a regional officer. Okay, so we could be having other offices open very, very shortly. Some of them are being developed from retired agency employees because they've already been there and done that. If that is you and you are stable with your income and you want to open an agency, then this is an opportunity for you. You can actually open an LLC, SLMTA in your area and blossom from the ground up. Okay, So that's where we are at right now as far as regional offices. Now, within the regional offices, I want all those who are thinking, oh, well, I'd like to open my own company. Understand that it's the most that you're probably going to have to deal with is probably an investment of around $2,000, maybe up to $4,000 initially if you have to do tests and things like that. If you have other folks that are going to be investors in your company, you would have to let me know. But when you go to file the LLC, you would be filing it as a foreign LLC. And then I'd have to give you our paperwork that shows where the LLC was born from so that you can write out this appropriate paperwork. If anyone is trying to get more than 5% of any kind of ownership, like if you have an investor involved with your SLMTA and within your regional office, then you're going to have to add them and it could cost you a little extra. Okay, that's where it could cost extra. It will cost extra if you have to get licenses, and for every agent within the agency, including the agency, well, the agency would have to be licensed if you're in one of those states that need a license, but every agent within the agency would also have to have their own license as well. Okay. In other words, they would have to do their testing and things like that to get their license. And then from there, and that's not SLMTA related. That's the guidelines of those particular states. Otherwise, it's liability insurance because we're going to make sure you have that. You got to have it within 30 days of you opening. If you do not have that, then we would not be able to advertise your company at all. You wouldn't even be able to advertise your company, okay, of SLMTA in that regional spot until you are finally legalized all across the board. Some of you that need a license, you're also going to probably need a location. So make sure that you have a location in mind. If you don't have the upfront cost to start the agency, but you like what I'm doing and there's an investor involved, like I said, you'd have to let me know what's what and what's happening, because those investors would need to know what else is involved, that it's not an origination, but an addition. There we go. But an addition to what is already out there. Okay. And if they're only looking to invest in that regional office, I would still need to know that. If they are looking to invest in SLMTA as a whole, then it will go to the hub office. And if they're saying that their friend is inquiring money of some sort, so what we would do is make sure that we deposit to your account that you will be opening up that amount that you're inquiring about, okay? But that's only when dealing with investors. If you're doing this on your own, you know, the initial investment is going to be about probably close to about $5,000, because you need the office space. You're going to need liability insurances. If you really want to know about a real cheap liability insurance that's not even going to cost you thousands of dollars, because it didn't me. And I got $2 million worth of coverage plus terrorist coverage and a few other things, like if the place flooded out, if something like COVID-19 happens again where I'm losing money, all those, I'm spending probably about $118 a month for 10 months. That's it. If I knocked all the other stuff out, it would only be $350 for the year for liability. And that's on a $2 million per occurrence. So yes, it is very important that you have the appropriate insurances that you need. and that you're able to keep that on track. But again, I'm only speaking, this video is for employees that I am looking for now. And this isn't employees. This is actually, I'm more talking to actual business owners, potential business owners. So in any case, what we're working on right now, we're working on our expansion project, and we are hoping that, hold on one second. I just got a message. Okay. So see if I can get this right this time. There we go. Okay. Yeah, sometimes, see, it only took me like, I don't know, let's say, well, it says 22 minutes I've been live. It took me 22 minutes. And besides having one message coming from one other person, I have like 4 other messages that came across. So people are already inquiring about it. But folks, I'm being serious. You have to be serious about this. Regional officers are highly professional. They know how to start a business. They know what a business expense is. They also know how to run a business. And they know what type of investment that they need to get involved with, or what type of investors they want to get involved with. Okay. On top of that, we also have to be sure that the regional officer have some kind of an idea of the entertainment industry. So I needed to add that in there too. Why is that? Because you might be pulling the loads like I'm doing right now, where I'm sending people out to LA, I'm sending them out to Florida, I'm sending them out to like every which way. Okay. And the only way that I would be able to do that is, obviously I wouldn't sit on here and do lives all day, but I would actually, when you're not seeing me here, it's because I'm busy. Okay. In all honesty, that's what that would be. So you want to try to keep yourself busy. Now, if you're one of those that are afraid or depressed in some way of wanting to know how to get put to work or whatnot, then probably the best idea is to think outside the box. Now, I'm speaking to some of you that have spoken to me on a professional level from overseas, okay? You could actually start something new that is not there, as long as you have the know-how that you know how to do it. And that is how SLMTA is being formed in France, because there is an individual that I'm speaking with that is specifically from there, who is actually interested in the vision of SLMTA, SL Models and Talent Agency. And therefore, they know exactly what they have to do to be able to get an office started there. And we're going to be banging very, very quickly, because why? Out there, they got stuff that needs to get done, and they normally ask people from any way, which way to do things. But the problem is, on an international level, countries are still closing because of this COVID-19. Now, that is an unfortunate thing, okay? Because a lot of us are really hoping that COVID-19 could find its way out, move on, right? But if you notice that moving on doesn't necessarily mean that things just disappear out of thin air. And again, I think that this is a very good example as to what I mean when I say that. We can move on from COVID-19, but it doesn't mean we have to sit around and bask in its glory. Does that make sense? It's like, it's here, but we cannot allow that to stop us from what we are doing. There's nothing that we can do. The only thing that could happen is that we have to thank God for every day that we survive and we are living. And in the meantime, continue doing what we are supposed to do, unless it's not aligned, which is another topic. I want to stay on topic tonight because it's already late. I'm trying to just get some important information. So yes, for regional officers, you must have experience in the entertainment industry in a way of knowing how to talk with clients, what clients you want to talk to, the prospect of negotiation and how to develop those negotiation skills for your clients to be able to work with you. All right. In the meantime, if you develop it all yourself, that's fine. If you're developing it for another situation, then it's possible that you may have to eventually hire on agents. Now, they would be 1099 employees. Why? Because under the legalities of the entertainment industry, an agent is only able to take a certain percentage of the model and or talent's work. Okay. Usually it's 10% for union related individuals and 15% for anyone, any model and or artist that is non-union. Okay. Sometimes it is 20% for model, depending on the gig and the buyout options. And I do have those details. So if you don't want to reinvent the wheel, you just want to do what I'm doing already, let me know that too. But look, I don't want you to be just sitting here registering a bunch of SLMTAs all across the globe. I need you guys to speak with me first, because if you have no authority to open those SLMTAs, then guess what? Then you may have a legal problem when you do open the business, and you don't want to have a legal problem first the minute that you're opening up. So you would have to sign a contract with us. It's similar to a franchise agreement, except that the only difference is that you're not coming up with upfront money to pay me to open an office. You're going to instead pay a monthly royalty of 30% to the hub office, okay? Each month that you are actually running revenue. You will have to report on a weekly basis all receipts of anything coming in and anything going out. These are just some of the things that you will be required to have to do. But the main thing is, if you want to be a regional officer for SL Models and Talent Agency, is to have some experience in the entertainment industry, to understand what my mission and purpose is. And basically the slogan gives it all away: unleash the artist within and let your light shine. But our mission works everywhere from dreamers, meaning building models and talent from scratch, all the way up to supermodel related individuals. So if your regional office only handles supermodels, that is fine, because that's what's going to be happening in France when we get developed. They're going to be working with developed, beautified supermodels, both from around the globe as well as from America. Okay. Only difference is that with America, you will actually become world renowned, because when they put you in their development and they start booking you for a lot of jobs in India and Tokyo and all those places, you're basically going to end up finding yourself being in very, very big, rewarding opportunities. So SLMTA is not about wanting to have a connection and then say our models actually are involved with things. We actually want to be the ones to say, hey, our models have done this. In other words, we will be the modeling agency that will tell the models that this is what they're doing. In other words, direct booking opportunity, not the other way around. You know how some agencies out there, and that's fine because they're local training agencies. Okay. And when you first start out, you want to start from the ground up anyway, even if you had to cancel out for a minute to restart later. But the thing is that you want to start somewhere. So with SLMTA, we have started somewhere, but the idea came from when I was speaking with one of my best friends, Christy. And then when I ended up meeting up with another individual in Atlanta, where they ended up, where they wanted it to be a part of SLMTA as well. And they already have a whole entire photo booth available. Everything's already set up, like ready to take pictures and everything. I'm going to be doing open calls again and bringing my backdrop. And the goal for the backdrop, well, what I decided to do is order me a few more light kits, because we're going to need them anyway, because if I'm doing a backdrop for over here, another one's going to need one over there. The good news is that Fat Sign already has our information. So if you need if you do need a backdrop for your red carpet open call, so let me know. They're about $1,500 each, and they're about 8 foot and 10 foot tall, or no, 8 foot high and 10 foot wide. Okay. And they're very, very good for professional reasons, or to do besides open call, you can actually use those backdrops for your test shoots. Okay. So we have things that are already there. You just got to tell them that you need them mailed to your office. That's all. Once you get enough, get enough money that you can be able to do that. We're not a bank, we are an agency, and like I said, you will have to know your responsibility of being able to develop these things. And then you would just have to report to me on a weekly basis as far as receipts going in and out. If you have receipts payable or receipts or receivables, and you're able to afford to pay those type of people in your office, then great. Then you can have them available there. We already have licensed enrolled IRS enrolled agents, excuse me, and senior CPA accountants that actually work straight from the hub that would actually create the legalities for me anyway, as far as all these other offices. All you need to do is just make sure you know what you are paying yourself, and of which you are putting in as equity. So for example, if you are starting your foreign office, you want to make sure you have a development of what you're paying yourself versus what is going in. Your payment to yourself is your withdrawals. So be very, very careful about what you're withdrawing versus what you're putting into the company when it comes to LLCs. Probably, depending on if we're more than 15 states out, we will probably end up then developing a corporation, and then that corporation would end up having that sector. But what we would end up doing is we will take a piece of the corporation and become open, because I mean, this is a very, very, very big deal. This is probably become one of the biggest companies within the actual industry by itself when it's all said and done. The idea is to make sure that I am allowing my brand out there so that you guys understand what SLMTA is and all that. And I'm going to do another video again on just those terms that I'm just taught about. Okay, the other thing that we are looking for are the actual agents. Now, I'm looking for them in Michigan, in the Grand Rapids area, and I'm also looking for them in the Chattanooga area, as well as Georgia. If you are out of state, if you're out of these state areas, you could still become an agent working from home, but we would have to hire as a 1099 from the hub office, okay? Understand this. This is the first thing I want to say up front, okay? Your goal is to have good enough negotiation skills, knowing what clients are out there, keeping it confidentiality, of course, with SLMTA, but that you know what you are making, okay? My role is to hopefully entrust you that basically what will happen is the client will end up paying SLMTA as a whole, but what will happen is the model that you have actually booked, you will get that percentage of that payment. If it's a union model, or excuse me, if it's a union member, it's 10%. If it's non-union, it's 15%, and for models, it's 20%. Okay. And that will be until American National Guild of Performing Arts actually is developed, because then it's going to change all the way around and it will be 15%. And that would also probably include union anyway, because we're going to make it fair and cut and very simple. Right now, what we're voting on, or what we're discussing, is actually this ordeal about agency fees and what is appropriate and what is not. Okay, but we already know that training agency, that if you're a CEO of a training agency, you cannot also be an agent within that agency. You'd have to hire an agent to run your agency. Or excuse me, you'd have to hire an agent to book the talent. You can still run your agency, but you can't claim to be an agent as well when you're training those models. Okay, so it's going to be a tricky situation. Nor can you be a CEO. It will be a conflict of interest of how we have things. So you cannot claim that you're running a training agency and then also claim that you're either a local or national agency. You can be an agent within that, but you cannot have the agency with the training agency be the same name, if that makes sense. So the training agency would have to be whatever the training agency is, and then your agency would be your agency's name. And then if it was one of these things where you're the owner of both of those, then we would have to give you a conflict of interest and confidentiality agreement. And you would have to, as far as ANCA is concerned, you would actually have to recreate how you're doing business in your agency. So that way, then one of the agents would be able to be one of the member agents of that, because we are going to have member agents, signatories, member agencies, all of that in regards to union related. If you're going to be a non-union related organization, it could be a little bit tough, but it could still be done. But it would be restricted to local only, and that we would still end up auditing to find out if the clients that you're working with are as legit as the people that you're working with, despite the fact. So yeah, it's it's going to be a very, very interesting project, because like I said, ANCA is due to start in the year 2023. It could be a little bit sooner, but that's being launched in 2023. Right now, we're actually proposing things, and some of the things are actually like they're excited that we're even mentioning it, while other things are, they need a little bit more improvement from us as to what we're trying to say and do. But that's where we're at. It's really for the safety of the people. And for modeling, there's a lot of conventions, there's a lot of fairs, there's a lot of everything going on with models, but there has never been a legitimate model union. And that is actually being formed as I discussed. And that model union, it's not a guild. There's a difference. Okay, there's actually a difference in the speaking of what a guild is versus an actual union. A union actually helps the the customers, the clients, meaning the actual model, so that they don't have to be discriminated by race, color, sexuality, whatever, but they're also not being being disregarded for like their body shapes, all kinds of stuff, whatever, harassment, that could be included, all of that, because at this point, that's where we're at. Now, we're not saying that everybody has to do like everybody's doing, but I've studied enough in the modeling industry now to know that where there's a lot of trouble in the industry, and so those things will not be allowed. And we want to cut that down, basically. I'm not going to tell you what the name of that union is as of yet, because we're actually in the process of doing it, but I'm letting you know that it is one being formed, and once everything is in detail, then yeah. One of the things is this ordeal about agencies trying to do what they want to do, and they're claiming that other agencies, like there's been issues, okay, where agencies are telling other agencies who they need to pay and all this for their clients, and that they need their client. No, all that stuff needs to be cut out. If that's how you are actually running your agency, you could actually be red flagged right from the get-go. Okay, just so that you are aware of that. You need to understand how the actual, I'm not talking about the industry as a whole, okay? I'm talking about that, how do I want to put this? The division of the industry called the agency. There we go. Okay? It's you guys that need to understand the functionality of what you're doing and making sure that it's going to be fair and upright to the model as well as to the client, and that the clients know appropriately the minimum amounts to pay. Is there a such thing that there has to be agency fees involved for modeling? Because of specific things, there is, but I'm going to explain the differences. I will tell you this though, an agency that runs a training agency as well will not be allowed to do agency fees on top of that. It would have to be agency fees or the other, but you cannot have two upfront costs where you're nickel and diming clients while at the same time nickel and diming prospective models. So you're gonna have to rearrange that as well. As far as conventions are concerned relating to modeling, that's being in full swing as well, because that would be more about who would be the ones actually responsible for the payment, if it is, and how memberships are developed. There's a whole 15-page guideline just on that alone by itself. And the good news about it is it helps you become functional for the year, not that you're just doing one thing, okay, and then that's it, and then you got to wait the next year to do it. No, this is allowing you to do many different things. We honestly believe that it's really up to the convention to be able to train up in the way that it should, to be prepared for what we call the grand showcase. That's what we believe. Now, we are still voting on that, but if that does come true, then that would mean that there are different levels of memberships that basically conventions could have, that they can have on a month-to-month basis, make a little bit more, and then also be able to justify their training in the way that they specifically want it to happen. And then you would use the training agencies to justify those capabilities for as a way to hire a specific person to be able to do that, if that makes sense. Instead of it being the other way around, which always used to be, we'll go ahead and we'll have this agency charge 5,000 over here and this agency charge 3,000 over here, when they're all achieving the same goal, but it's like everybody's charging different numbers. You know, so if you want to be fair, we figured out how you could be fair. And it's also fair for the conventions because we don't believe that conventions should be cut out. Conventions are actually very important. Hence, I would not have said that if I was not a member agency to a very large convention, okay? It just means that there's some things that unfortunately or fortunately, depending how you look at it, could change. Big changes could be along the way. So yeah, that is that perspective. Or some of the things that are happening as far as the modeling union works. Now I know that some of the conventions also add these, I don't know what this bug is that's flying around. I know that some of the conventions basically, you know, they have other things other than modeling, but for the most part, you know, they really do entice the modeling. They entice the agencies to come together and all that. That's very, very good. The other thing is if you're afraid if the agency is not legit, you might actually be better off finding out that we have a problem to resolve that issue too. Now, this one we left open. We're entrusting that things because we don't want to take control of the whole thing, but we did leave this open. And that is because originally the way that I put it on paper was that they would have to be a signatory member of the actual union. And then they could actually have the membership to the convention. What we've decided to do is not take control of that. And the reason is A, it would be a conflict of interest for other purposes. One of them being why it is that why we chose to be a member agency for a very highly regarded convention ourselves. But also, we want to see if we can help the conventions to develop that themselves so that they get the choice or the chance to be able to do that without a union have to tell them how to do it. This is also going to solve a lot of problems with the confusion when it comes to union related as well, meaning like SAG and APTRA and all that, because one of the things that what I want to do that we're in the process of developing right now is a letter that would actually go out to the corporate or the main office of these divisions for those unions, because we want to make sure that they understand what the modeling union is doing and that we understand where the confusion is. But instead of just shutting everything off, which is pretty much what's causing a lot of the confusion, we want to be able to bring more opportunity, because this is what we strongly believe. We strongly believe, SLMTA believes it, MAAI believes it. Everybody believes it, okay? That everybody deserves a chance in the industry. So if I was to sit there and make all these indications of you have to do this in order to become in the union, but then this, and this, it's not going to work. Whereas American National Guild of Performing Arts, that is restrictive. That is like, there are requirements that you have to do to get to that point. Even the convention says, well, because of the fact being, but if they are already doing what is happening in the forefront, then there is no reason for them to have to worry about changing anything. Because the change has already been done, so it makes it a whole lot easier when the international union is actually developed in 2023. It's a huge, big thing that is, we believe that it's actually going to be a great opportunity. It's actually going to depend on the formation and who is and who is actually involved. If you're a member, what do they call, what's like, if you're in the development, well, no, that would be nonprofit. If you're a nonprofit and you're the development officer, we'll just put that as an example. Okay. You can fundraise different ideas, different ways of being able to incur income to make your company survive and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the main thing that we actually like is the fact that the conventions are there to help new faces make their dreams become a reality. The question is going to be who is involved in it. Because if the involvement inquires everything to be about the pocketbook, but it's not about the person that's actually wanting to make their life reality, then that might end up being where you have to reconfigure the whole entire board to figure out where you're headed. The other thing that you want to make sure is that you don't have a dying organization. That's a very strong thing that SLMTA believes. So that means, you know, having young blood available could also mean that you cannot be stuck in your own ways. I know that I might be saying this very strongly, but it is very true. There are companies out there that have been around there for 40, 50, 60, 70, you know, who knows, okay? And then the minute that the main person, and by the way, it wouldn't be the president of that organization, it would actually be the ones who are doing the banking or the officers involved. Why? Because they're the ones that have to keep the statements floating and making sure that everything, all the rules are being enacted. The president just basically applies them and then tries to, with that situation, tries to involve or reinvent or expand on what's already there. But if you're limited to what you can expand, if they want to limit you on what to expand, is what I should be saying, then you're already about 80% in the path of a dying organization. You have to be able to be free of being able to have an expansion project, something that is different than what you are doing. And you also have to figure out what is important. So for example, if the important thing is that you want Dreamer to be able to be in touch with real agencies, and you got to make sure that you have real agencies that will be going there, that they have everything intact. Now that's just what, guideline related scenarios, because that's what we're going to be asking for anyway in the model union. I mean, so you might as well just get prepared and ready for that now. Now some people have been asking if they don't, or yeah, let me put it that way. Yeah, because I'm looking at my messages from Twitch and all that. Okay, I have been asked this question already. I actually have a couple of questions. I'm going to answer the one since I'm on this topic. Then I'm going to go back to the regional officers because I kind of did stray off the topic a little bit. Okay, for this question, they said, well, there are those who are not in the union anyway, and they're doing their thing. So what does it matter if they were in the union or not? Here is the issue. There are all kinds of games being played. See, SAG is very careful about certain things because, like, if I wanted to become a signatory member, all right, I would have to make sure that everything, including my modeling perspective and everything, be separate. It had to be its own thing. It doesn't matter if I'm even involved in it or whatever, but it had to be, you know, in that way, it had to be totally separate. I couldn't have upfront costs or anything like that either. So they're a little bit more stricter than even what we got going on with the modeling agency. Or excuse me, the modeling union. Because the modeling union, we're basically focused more on harassment, unequal pay, racist issues and things like that, and how they're treating people, okay? And then everything else that evolves around it. What we're doing is we also know about the conventions and where it is unfair for some agencies to only make so much and the other agencies only be able to make a whole different amount. So what we've decided to come up with as a union, because again, a union is where you're unionized and you're working together to accomplish a common goal, okay? The goal here is to make sure that everybody is equally paid the exact same right amounts. So if you're charging, say, I don't know, a membership between $50 to $150 a month, and then they want to add other additionals, then you, as the actual convention, okay, could actually charge those to the different types of memberships you may have. But that doesn't mean that they are inclusive to your workshops and seminars and things like that, because conventions are creative. They can do those different things, okay? So if you are selling them, it looks more legit. Why? Because you actually have the oomph and the power to be able to do it. The idea is to get them to the convention so that you can go ahead and then start bringing agencies to work together on the actual training. So in this case, you would be the one actually looking for the trainers and actually paying them what you see is the work, so that you are not sitting there being stuck. And if you're creative enough, you would still be doing the same thing you're already doing, plus some, if you actually get everything developed. The only difference is you will not have to worry about, you know, SLMTA charging this over here, and this one's charging that over there, and this and that. It would be that SLMTA has a choice to develop the education I mean, shoot, and another thing, it also makes the memberships to the agencies more worth it. Why? Because now it entices them. Because now you could actually say, okay, if you want to actually bring people in, if you want to get paid for actually establishing the artists that we have leads to or what have you, this is what you're going to have to do, and then these are the steps of doing it. So in other words, you would be able to be more creative in the way that you're developing your plan. It's not the other way around where people are claiming that they opening colleges and everything else, and that kind of a thing is mixed knowledge for me. As a doctor in this industry, I do get confused when I hear things like the College of Modeling. And basically it's less than even a semester worth of education, and it doesn't have anything that is fluent, but it does have steps to success. Okay, well, steps to success, I understand that, but is that actually a college? Like, so that's why we're saying these things. And then instead of having the agencies charge like $5,000, and this goes for SLMTA too, because I was developing a yearly plan. Now, for now, I have to do what I got to do. Why? Because everything is just kind of sitting in thin air right now with COVID and all that. So that's why we're about a year off anyway. But what's the word I'm looking for? Like, we were going to end up charging for everything inclusive, nearly $6,000, and it'd be the year. Okay. I honestly think it's a matter of getting the membership straight from the models that are interested in doing it, just make it a little bit more sophisticated, and then you can let them know, hey, if you want this, it's going to be $100 a month. If you want that, it will be $200 a month. If you want that, it'll be $300 a month. But then you can get discounts on seminars and workshops that the convention may have. And then what you do is you work that out into how your payment plan would work for the agency. Or simply put, because I know that conventions, they want the agencies to create the certain things, but here's where the unions are actually confused. It's because of the fact being that some agencies are claiming that they're a training agency, but they are also agents within an actual modeling agency. It would be okay if they wasn't trying to put all their eggs in one basket, if that makes sense. That's basically what I'm trying to say, and that's what the union would try to eliminate, or not try to, but is going to eliminate. Because then if you have a training agency, then there are certain percentages that they can mark up. So if you are actually saying, okay, they are a member agency, I mean, you could even still keep it the way that you've done it. Most of them do it that way anyway. Okay, so you're a member agency, you paid your dues or whatever for the year or whatnot. Now, the only difference is do they have the qualifications or whatever it may be to be able to run a training agency? And if they do, then, but what the union is trying to evaluate is making it fair to where everybody is being paid like the actual trainers are being paid, and that the agencies are not coming up with 4, 5, 6,000 plus ups, which are dramatically big exchanges of high costs in the market. Because again, there is a legal scenario when you start to go above market prices. There is this thing called what you are worth, but what you are worth may not be exactly what the market is worth. So you have to actually be cautious of that situation. Okay, so that answers that question. Now, the question about the regional officers. Yes, we are looking for regional officers to open an office per state, okay? But here are the things that you're gonna need. You're gonna need your own investment. You're going to need, you will not need upfront money, okay? You will not need upfront money to, in other words, upfront money to pay me, you know, to use the SL Models and Talent Agency's name and to create. You will have to sign a contract with us. We would need to know what your intentions are, definitely that. And that there is a small fee as far as the licensing of the logos and things like that, because you guys are going to need those. But what I'm saying is that you will not have to pay like $100,000 up front to be able to start that. Now that will, I'm not going to sit here and tell you when. Right now, we need the offices in other states, so we're not doing that. We're actually helping you out a little bit, although there will be a $5,000 upfront cost for other legalities of using our property and things like that. But long story short, the only thing that we're looking for is that you have experience in the entertainment industry, that you know how to get connected with clients, that you can keep them confidential to SLMTA, and that you are not working under any other agency. We are not fearful of the territories, but you as an owner cannot also be working as an agent for another agency. Okay, it would be a conflict of interest. Nor can you be the owner of another agency. And we would have to do the background checks before all that. And then after that, then it will be that, like I said, you'd be confidential with our clients. You would also want to hire your own agents that are experienced. You're responsible for your own licenses. We will give you the information about the origination and addresses and things like that of our LLC, because when you register the LLC, you will have to start it as a foreign LLC. And then another thing that we ask is if you are going to put equity into the business, that you let us know what the original equity is. Any profits will be 30% will go to the hub agency. You will have to keep reports on money going in, coming in, and money going out on a weekly basis. And there's a few other requirements that you would have to do as a, general manager or regional officer of SLMTA in your state. Now, after that, then we are going to develop the franchise agreement and it would be where you would actually have to show in your account that you have 150. Now, understand this. I am actually doing this on very high good terms. So that would have to mean that we would need to know when exactly, we would have to know certain things like opening bank accounts, what these accounts are, and all of that. If you would like, we can put everything to the hub channel, but that's going to make it more complicated because you may need your account for your clients in that state or the clients that you may have. Okay. That also goes for SLMTA to SLMTA. If you have other clients, they still have to be held confidential. Only SLMTA will have the interest of what those clients are if they're looking for other models from other offices within SLMTA. But the one thing that we are not doing right now is the one thing that says that you have to prove that you are financially stable with $150,000 up front, because not yet. When we do the actual full franchise agreement right now, we need the help in getting other regional offices open. But when we go to franchise, yes, those requirements will be there. Right now, the minimum that you're going to need to prove to us is that you have $5,000 to pay for the use of our name and logos and other properties that we have, and that you are the employee of SLMTA as a whole, but running your own office. You would also have to have the money for your own insurances and any W-2 employees that you're going to be hiring. If you're doing agents, I suggest hiring them as 1099 because they only get paid by commission. Okay. And typically those commissions are 10% for union, 15% non-union, and for models, it's 20%. Agency fees for right now, non-union for both models and other gigs is 20%. Okay, and agency fees is the plus up that the agency gets on the actual booking. The agent fee is what you would pay the agent who did the booking. Okay, that's how that goes. If you have any other questions, and yes, we are looking for agents as well. That could be anywhere. You will also have the same confidentiality agreement stating that information relating to SLMTA stays with SLMTA. You will not be allowed to work as an agent with us plus an agent at another agency within a 50-mile radius, nor any other agency at all. Okay, so you cannot be, even if you were working, say, in Virginia and you lived in California and you wanted to be an agent, we would not allow you to do that. And the reason for that is because we are going to be hiring various different amounts of agents within the different states and having, it's going to be a pretty big project happening very soon. And we are a little bit skeptical about scams, frauds, and wannabe agencies trying to take control because they are very cunning. They are very cunning. And we got to make sure that we don't get involved with nonsense agencies that will waste our time. In other words, where they're busy wanting us to pay for things or join in with things, but then when you're asking them, it's like they don't want to have nothing to do with it. we can't deal with that because that's not a real collaboration. That's fate. It's just basically them wanting that, but they want to make it look like that particular thing is high and mighty. But the reality is we know when they are local and when they're not. Okay. And SLMTA is past the local level. So what we're doing is, if these agencies want to work with SLMTA, then they can, as far as competitions go, or like workshops or showcases or whatnot. But we're not just, we have many projects that we're asking agencies as well. The real agencies out there are actually wanting to go with us on some of our projects. It's some of these ones where they're just looking for the dollar. So you have to be very skeptical of that sometimes. And that's where I am. I am highly skeptical of it, but it doesn't keep my mouth shut. I just basically tell you, some of them don't mean harm either. There are some that are actually extremely shady. The difference between me being skeptical and an actual shady company is that you can see actual results, okay, with some of these agencies that I may have skepticism with, whereas an actual shady business is they do things in a way where they want to look good in the forefront, but then when you start asking other questions, they want to wrap around your question and then take you back to the forefront. In other words, no, this is the show I want to show you. I don't know anything else. I'm not going to share anything else with you. And then I just basically say, okay, I understand that. See, SLMTA isn't afraid we can share whatever we want to share. I even said that if it wasn't for COVID-19, we're only a 3-month-old organization. That's literally all we are. Otherwise, we would have been around. We would have been around a year and a half. Why? Because of COVID. But we didn't disappear either. We did not keep our mouth shut. We kept moving. The tenacity was very, very strong. The persistence and coaching and everything else. If anything, I probably had helped some of these local agencies in one way or the other. I'm pretty sure. There's a lot of them out there, and some of them tell me some things, and others, I don't know how to explain it. There is nothing really to explain about it. But the thing is a shady company compared to a company that is actually trying, and they're a local company. They are providing results. They don't have to actually advertise and have to validate what they're doing. You see it. You can see that it's happening. A shady company is a company where it's always about looking for something. Okay. And then next thing you know, once you have enough of them, it's like, because let me explain, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, about being desperate. 9 times out of 10, because it's happening with me as well, where there's more job orders than there are models. But the client knows that they could just go to other agencies. It's not like you have to say that it's happening, unless you're actually trying to say that client is literally exclusive to you. And if you are saying that, then that's a conversation that I need to actually have with one of my attorneys, because I never heard of a client being exclusive to a particular agency, because they all pretty much work together. it's a workable experience. I've never heard of an agency trying to take control of clients. I never did. Unless, of course, the client themselves entrust, and that is what that looks like or something like that. Like, for example, I do have clients that entrust SLMTA, so they'll ask SLMTA before. We're starting to get that response now, where the clients will ask us before they ask others, just to give us a chance at it. But other than that, there is no actual exclusive contract with a client, except that when it comes to direct bookings, they do have to make sure that there are specific payments being drawn up with certain things. So I've never heard of that. So these are big hints of me realizing that where there's shady business, and it is shady. Okay, if you, I mean, you'd have to come argue with me about how it is that you can actually say that you're in control of that particular client. Either that or think about what you're saying, because it literally sounds like you're saying that clients are exclusive to you. You know, I ask questions purposely to figure out where the mindset is, to figure out what is really happening, right? Now, there's a difference, okay, where a client, like, for example, I'm developing a relationship with a client right now on one of my contacts. Now, they're exclusive for the purpose of the contacts, but they're not exclusive to me where they would hire, but they would definitely use SLMTA first, because they are seeing the revelation of the competition being formed, you know. So it does put faces out there in front of people. But if I was to sit here and say and act desperate, like, okay, I got 50 clients that needs like, you know, 2 models each. So it's 100 models that I need, and I only have 20. Come on, folks, I need another 80. How do I not know that that client is going to choose the 80 that I decide to hire, or that I'm going to be picking up? I could be sitting here with 200 models, and then when they're not picked, then you start with this. Oh, well, do you see why you wasn't picked? And you start getting cunning in another way. Well, you wasn't picked, but I tell you what, I have the perfect program that could help you. If you sign this here, you see what I'm getting at? So it literally becomes a luring project more so than what you actually intentionally mean to do, which is actually get dreamers on your registry to be able to go and develop their talent. If that's what you're really looking to do, then that's what you need to advertise. False advertisement doesn't go too well with me. I don't like it, you know? So that's one thing that I will tell you. If I see false advertisement with any of my regional officers, it could be a huge fine just developed from me, but let alone you could be also be closing your doors, or I would have to go and find another regional manager to take your place. And then that office will have to remain closed until, you know, we can get someone that knows how to not do sketchy business. You see where I'm getting at? So yeah, I'm okay with the education. We got a Dreamers division too. We're gonna hire people to train. We're gonna send them out to conventions. We're gonna do everything real, right? Everything's gonna happen for real. The only difference is that if I don't have if I don't have the models at the time or the talent at the time that they're looking for a specific thing, then there's nothing that I can do, okay, about it. My agency, that doesn't mean that my agency isn't doing what it's supposed to do. If anything, we're doing, now we could bring the opportunities to the table, don't get me wrong. We get clients every so often. The ones that you don't hear about are the ones that we are now developing direct bookings with, with like professional models. That's why we're trying to separate everything so that everything it looks more easier. It's a lot easier to deal with. So, I mean, folks, if I do have job order, then you want to take advantage of those if I'm advertising them. Like all last week, we had job orders coming in left and right. And I was even messaging some of the folks, but they don't communicate back. There's nothing that I could do. I'm going to deal with people that are taking this serious, not people that have excuses every time about something. If you have an excuse, then I got an excuse for you. Every excuse takes you further away from what your intentional goal is. You hear me? Every excuse that you have is an excuse to get you further away from your goal. So it doesn't matter what happens with me. Okay, you're not going to make SLMTA look bad. I've already told you that. I don't care what trick that you try to do in the book, even the one where you would try to lie, because they're out there. I see them, okay, where people are lying about other agencies, talking about how they take this money or they have me doing different things and all this, and I'm wasting time and they're not able to help me and things like that. Well, guess what? If you're not going to answer and all you get is excuses and you want to try to put me out there, I'm going to plug in too, okay? I'm not only a Gemini, but I'm a Gemini at work that knows how to handle these front-end devourers, okay? So if you're going to try to lie, you got to be good at it, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the same thing that you got. I'm going to put that information up there. That way then everybody knows the real story of what's going on. Okay. I'm just saying it the way it is. I don't have to be afraid, because SLMTA knows exactly what it's doing. Okay. And that's the good news about that. So yes, folks, so if you are a business person and you like an agency that tells it like it is, and we got a very good mission and vision in place, and you want to just you want a chance at your own business and you like the entertainment industry, then this is an opportunity for you for sure. And again, the agents were looking for you guys as well. All right. So I know it's 1 o'clock in the morning. That's probably the one excuse I'm going to hear is, oh man, I wish I was up then to hear this. Well, guess what? 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, you can hear it again, because I may be online again. I do want to make sure that I actually give this opportunity so that everybody will hear it. But again, somebody will come to the floor and they will want to start a business. So if you're considering, don't just sit around and think about it, okay? Just know there are some things you have to think about. I gotta be honest. There are some things you gotta think about, because you want to know how we're running business, what SLMTA is doing, those kind of things. So that is pretty applicable. That I can understand. But if you're sitting there thinking twice about even taking that first step to even ask the question, then I probably don't want to talk with you because you're not really taking it serious. You're probably just wanting to get information. See, we're going to be careful about what information we give you. Why? Because how we do business in Michigan may not be the same way in Pennsylvania. It could be a whole totally different ballgame. I will tell you that the biggest difference just over the bridge in New Jersey is that you have to have an office, you have to be bonded, you have to have a license, and everybody within the agency has to have a license. So yeah, I mean, that part I know. I mean, but then still, how you run your agency in New Jersey, you might be supermodels. You might find it where you have more of the contact lists of supermodel, where the one in Arkansas has a lot of dreamers in their state. Because think about it, when we open up in places like Chicago, LA, New York, and they are coming very soon, okay? You're talking about supermodels and superstars and all that. And no, I'm not talking about what you define as a supermodel or a superstar. We're talking about this is places where Beyonce and all that, where they're located and places where they go. And a lot of them, they develop their own agencies. You know, that's basically what Astrap Talsi does. He is a supermodel, worldwide supermodel, and he basically utilizes what he does and has developed his own agency and whatnot. And he just happens to be a part of the international division for SL Models and Talent Agency. So these are the strongholds that you want to have. These other agencies where you're even trying to do a Google search and come up with a name and they're not even located, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to make it real. It's also kind of hard to tell whether or not you have the right agreements with them to know whether or not that's an agency that is hiring your models. Believe me, once there's a red flag on an agency, there are eyes that are glued. And there are things that, you know, I know what I'm looking for and things that I really don't care about, you know? And if I'm actually liking particular things, I will tell you that I like them. If it looks shady, well, then I'm not going to keep my mouth shut just because of the fact being that you have a difference in opinion. Yeah, I mean, you have the choice that you can close the door on me, but the reality would actually be in the forefront. You'd have to figure out why the person, why there's that skepticism of you being shady. It may not be that you're shady at all. It could just simply be that there's something that you're doing that's giving the people the idea that you are. You see where I'm getting at? Not everybody is actually, I'm not saying that everybody is shady, okay? That's not what I'm getting at here. But what I'm saying is that if it happened to you where it was said, and if someone like me is actually going to tell you it, then you need to figure it out instead of sitting there with that fear energy thinking, oh, because the minute that you shut the phone on the person, well, unless there's an argument or something like that, I can understand that. But like, if the person is saying, look, there's something that doesn't look right, and this is making you look shady, which 9 times out of 10 is what I'm saying. And I have the guts to actually tell you that at the very least, what you could do is consider why it is. Because there are people that will sit there and write bad things about the company and everything else. And then they are so quick to say, oh, they're shady, this is shady and all that. Now, there ain't no shady business going on with SLMTA because everything that we talk about, I'm wide open. I'm actually live right now. I'm telling you what's happening. I'm also telling you when we have nothing and when we have something. You know, if we don't have no bookings, I'm going to tell you ain't got no bookings. If you're not the right person that we're looking for, we'll tell you that as well. If you're looking to go to Paris, well, let me figure out from Mass Reptile, see if that's what it, if you're a a candidate for Paris. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that, see, in America, and this is the truth, in America, we have this huge thing called trendsetters, okay, which are 35-year-olds plus. That part I understand. However, when it does come to like Paris or whatever, unless you could prove me something different, and when I say proving something different, I mean outside of social media, that is, I would like to see more jobs open up on an international level relating to trendsetter. But then they also have the same situation going on with who they're looking for as, and that's what got us to want to get that union started for models with all the racism and the, and I'm not just talking about skin color racism. Yeah, that's in there too. I'm talking about like boys versus girls and like I've seen a wonderful girl with autism become, or actually not become, but get involved with a major model shoot. It can happen. You will be surprised. There is a market for anyone, but you have to understand, and I'm here to tell you the reality, okay? I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your butt, all right? But the reality of what could happen with a younger person with Alzheimer's, listen to me, with autism versus a older person who is a trendsetter, okay, could vary. All right. Even though that there is a market for it, you still want to make sure that you are doing other things. If the entertainment industry is for you, other things could be like whether you do voiceovers, if you're an actor, you know, different things like that. Because if you just focus on if you just focus on modeling and you're 35, the branding could actually be a little bit more difficult. I'm going to be honest. I'm over here trying to be shy with you all, but I got to be honest. So reality is the market is there for you, but you need other things to also keep you busy. Because of the fact being that while there is a huge thing happening in America, because unfortunately the truth of the matter is America is getting bigger, but also people are getting older, so you don't want to have an eventual situation, which is another reality, that your industry dies off. You need to have young blood. You need to be sure that you are safe in what you're doing and things like that, right? So they're just common cynical things that you want to focus on, but at the same time, you know, I don't want to advertise as if I'm going to tell you you're going to be the brand of the next superstar at 45 years old without first starting you off at the bottom and work your way up, because I don't know where you will end up being. I cannot tell you that your brand, your brand is actually going to be that. I cannot. I'm not going to dictate that either. And just because one person might actually have an award that became our client that now booked you, doesn't mean that puts you in a superstar status quite yet either. A superstar, first of all, is a name that will never be forgotten. So it may be that you want to use a really, really good stage name and develop your brand, meaning that you might have to create yourself. But social media isn't the only place where you can have that happen. All right, so that's why I wanted to talk about as well. I really didn't want to talk about that, but I guess I figured I would answer that question. So yes, there is an actual American, I'm gonna put it that way, American actual market for trendsetters, but and it's pretty decent and it is growing. But I'm just letting you know that the reality is that your branding is going to have to be a lot more tweaked. You want to keep it up to date. You want to make sure that you are working for the purpose of developing your brand. It's going to be a little bit more than just saying that you can develop a brand. Because when you're talking about a pro model is going to be one where basically a client doesn't have to second guess. They already know that that's what they see and that's what they're going to use, type of thing. Nor, and I'm going to make this tomorrow night's discussion. I hope it doesn't become a sticky topic. But while we're on the topic of the union and saving graces of racism issues, I also want to bring to your attention that you don't want to develop your own karma, meaning that you just focusing on your race or that race. You see what I'm getting at? You want to make sure that you are dealing with many different types of clients, because like me, I work with all clients and I work with all agencies. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be gay, bi, straight, whatever, black, purple, white, pink, and yellow. It doesn't matter, okay? But if I was going to sit there and just focus on one thing, then how are you actually going to develop your mission of actually being diverse? Because here is what makes it tricky, and this is where the world gets it wrong. Diversity is usually something that does not come with what the norm, what the whole is. For example, okay, me being involved where if I, like, let's say Iris is one of my helpers, I can have like Einstein and, so now we have Spanish, we have Black, and we have Asian. We'll just throw that in there, right? That's diversity. Even though that literally, if I was to just focus on, even though that I'm white, right? If I'm just focusing on Asian, that doesn't make me actually diverse. It makes me diverse to an extent, but then it just becomes a norm. See, diversity is variations of everything, culture, and all of that. In fact, let me just be very prominent about what I'm trying to say here. Give me one moment. I'm waiting for it to load up. Rather than me trying to make up my own definition, I'm just gonna. So it's something that is different. Okay, it's the state or fact of being diverse, different, unlikeness, variety, multiformity, a point of difference, the inclusion of individuals representing more than one national origin, color, religion. So even if I was white and all I was doing was focusing on a bunch of Asians, the reality is that it's still not diverse, even though that I'm focused on that. Why? Because the reality is there is no diversity. It's one race, one culture that I'm actually dealing with. So if you're that type that are saying, if you're that agency that has a big thing about being diverse and cultural, but your focus is still on one race, you still have the problem where you're not diverse. So be very mindful of that when it comes to the reality check, the realness of how you're doing business. See, because SLMTA will not discriminate against anyone for any purpose. You could even be mental, and we still have a way to be able to evolve some, or not evolve, but demonstrate a good talent with that person. So you want to be sure that you understand the meaning of what you're trying to say that your business does. Because I see that, and this is not just entertainment. Okay, I see this with all kind of businesses, where because they have a Spanish woman in charge, so that's like minority. They just try to put it in there. It's like, okay, we're now minority owned, right? Well, let's do that. The smaller part or number, a number, part, or amount forming less than half of the whole. So let's say that you're a woman-owned business, but all there is women that are actually running the agency or running a business based off of the Webster's dictionary, unless the government makes up their own meaning. Basically, minority means the lesser of. So let's say that SLMTA decides to hire on 3 women as regional officers, but then all the others are all men. We are then minority owned of women. Now, I don't technically like that based off of that scenario, but because the idea is that you want to be fair, equal, right? It's still kind of like sexist or discriminative to say that women, how women run their companies and things like that. But the problem is what where people don't understand, and I'm just giving you the reality, is that if you're minority owned, it means the lesser of the amount. It doesn't mean that women should feel less. Does that make sense? I think that is exactly what I'm trying to get at. In other words, women are just as equal as men to be able to handle businesses. The only reason that they say minority owned is because there is a minority somewhere in there, whether it's mainly men or mainly women. If it's mainly men and there's a couple of women, then it's minority owned. Or it could be all women, and then let's say there are two Spanish women there that work. That is also minority. It's equalizing. It's not saying that they are not smart enough to run a business. It's just saying the purpose of minority anyway. Minority leadership is the lesser portion of the total number within a business. That's what that means. Okay. Let's see, what else did I want to bring to your attention before I get done? Oh, yeah, and then some of the other things that I want to mention as well is like culture. Okay, you have the culture, and then you also have diversity. They are actually different things. Okay. Diversity is about the different. Okay. And culture, excuse me, I know I'm my speech is getting in the way again, is the quality in a person or society that arises from a concern for what is regarded as excellent in arts, letters, manners, scholarly pursuits, etc. That which is excellent in the arts, manners, etc., a particular form or stage of civilization as that of a certain nation or period. Development or improvement of the mind by education or training. So basically, it's anything of a creative nature, of letters, manners, scholarly pursuits, education, that is within a particular region. That is the culture of how it could be their beliefs, it could be how they were trained, what type of art that they perform, and different things like that. That is the culture. But that doesn't mean the same thing as diversity. Diversity is the difference of the different types of people. Now, when you have the different types of people or the diversity, with that would normally come actual culture. Then you can add those into your mission. So that's why you want to have that. And it's kind of funny because I would actually ask to help specific agencies who I see wanting to grow like an SLMTA. Maybe not necessarily like a SLMTA, but to grow, to be better active and in their missions and things like that. And the thing is what I'll get back with some of the agencies. Now, some of them will actually even pretend that they're not an agency. But then when you get on their website, it actually says, if you want a book, you do that. You want to do this, you do that. Well, you're running like an agency, but then when you come into the table, you're telling me that you're not an agency. So I don't know what to believe, especially when you're supposed to be someone very important. That's even worse yet. So it's like, you got to know your ground. You got to know what you are doing. Like, I almost feel like, you know, I feel like some folks actually still need to go to preschool to figure, not preschool, but like business 101 to actually know what they're doing in business. Let me tell you what YouTube gets when you're listening to a lot of the commercials. I'm going to tell you flat out what you get. You get a person sitting there saying, see, I pay $200 a month for auto insurance. Well, look at this. Now I only pay $15.28. Do you want to know how to do it too? And then when you click, they give you this 15-minute interview or seminar about something that is almost relatable, but then they want you to pay for the seminar. That's how they get you. It's not even anything of a trick. Why? Because it actually doesn't really exist. And the more that you try to do what they're doing, it's like you're developing your own a mental disparagement, because it's like, I can't do this. That's like trying to take two pennies, rub them together to make $1. Like, how do you do that? Right? Any one person in reality knows that magic would not completely exist where two pennies become $1, unless the government could tell you, okay, yeah, for you they're $2, and then then you can get your lollipop. But in any real occasion, that's not happening. So that's one of the commercials that I see, or ads, if you will. The other ads would be like, do you want to know how to become an independent artist? Do you want to know all the contacts? Do you want to get away from an agency and do this all on your own? Well, here, I got you 15,000 contacts. Please sign up here today. For $19.99, you can have 35,000 contacts. Then when you go to sign up for the 35,000 contacts, you start realizing that there's one page of information. Everything else is a bunch of emails and numbers all scattered about. You don't even know who to contact first. You just have this big booklet of everything, right? So there's that going on. And then they want you to spend more money. And it actually goes up every time. Oh, do you want to know about the movie industry too? Do you want to get involved with producers? First of all, producers are actually trying to produce the shows and do the different things that they are doing. They don't have time to be sitting there working with a upcoming actor who wants to be on the thing. They usually will do this thing called casting calls to basically get you out there for auditions. 9 times out of 10, they don't even want you to be calling unless the phone call is coming from their client, meaning their agencies that they're working with. So all this baloney, folks, that are going on out there, but these people are making it rich. Let me tell you, because then the next one, let me tell you this one. Oh, this is the most cunning one. Okay. I started with $2. I started with $2. So I could show you how you could grow $2 into $14,000 in 1 week. Please sign up right here. So then you go there, you're signing up. Now they want you to pay $2 to actually do their little trick. So then you pay the $2 because you're like, well, what's $2, right? Well, by the time you get done their seminar, you find out that they took the $2, but it didn't grow to nothing. So then you're like, what, is this a scam? No, what they tell you is for the kit, so that you can see these $2 that you just gave me grow to the 14,000. Now you'll have this, and this. What? Wait, hold up. How does that work? If you can't do any work and your mind actually is all over the place, then it's probably a scam. And here's another way you know it's a scam. A scam artist is going to give you phone numbers attached to what they're doing, and they're not going to just be abbreviated numbers either, where you're calling and calling and calling and there's nothing, or you can't even leave a message, or it goes, sorry, but this phone number is no longer whatever, something like that, or another. Actually, no, I won't even say that because some legitimate companies will have that. It will actually be like this number no longer works or something to that sort. The difference between a real number that doesn't work and that experience is that usually the phone line, the phone place will actually tell you that this phone number is temporarily disconnected or temporarily shut, where the other one basically will say this phone number no longer exists. There's a big difference. Okay. And that's the phone number thing. Then you, if you get an email, but then it's like you cannot get the email without paying first. Don't do it. Why? Because you could get the email and then the bottom line is like, well, here, what they do is they ignore the question at hand and then they try to give you some other crap, and then you have to sign into that. And then what happened? Say lure you into some other thing that may not have anything to do with anything else because they already got you on the other one. These are called spam emails, spam phone numbers, just whatever, because you can't get a hold of them. So the real way is to get with an agency, okay? If you're gonna be even freelancing. Freelancing is what you wanna do if you know how to actually brand yourself. If you don't know how to brand yourself, or maybe you just don't want random people contacting you, then your intentions is probably to have an agency just for that. And then as the agency is growing, you're growing with it. Why? Because there's more potential, more clients, more things are happening with that, right? When you're freelancing, you're going to be more skeptical actually about what's going on with the entertainment industry, when in fact it's not even the industry itself, it's about the people that you're doing business with. I mean, SLMTA is even getting to the point where when we do get someone to run the office, we want to have an actual office phone, not a cell phone. Why? Because we can have someone to operate the phone or whatnot. We are actually developing a monthly service with a company that will help us do that. It does cost some investment. Now, here's one thing that I'm going to tell you about a shady company. A shady company is going to do whatever they can where they don't have to pay a dime and try to pretend like they got everything going on. And that is because they basically got everybody paying to them and nothing's going out. If they are actually bragging that nothing's going out and it's not legit, meaning that, you know, for example, someone's helping them with rent. Like, for example, Iris and I, we pay rent together, okay? but we pay rent together for a real reason. Now, if she was like, oh, you don't have to pay me rent, like I'm just saying that. Okay, if she said you don't have to pay me rent, and that was actually part of an agreement, then that is still legit. But if you're going to be working with an office, I'll just go this way. There are some places where in Chattanooga, for example, that's what I'm going to be doing yet again for my open call. So you can actually run your office free of charge certain days of the week, certain hours. And then you could claim, hey, you can meet me at my office at such and such a time. But the reality is that's not really what's going on. What's really going on is that, and that's why I tell you this up front. We work with the township or the county to be able to help us with the places that we have, unless we have legitimate rent like Iris and I are doing, where we're helping each other to pay rent. So there is, so if they're telling you, see, it's not even a jealous thing for me, because what that's telling me is that they're basically making a lot of money and they're afraid to actually invest in anything. And then it gets me to wonder how many people are actually buying into this, and is it actually a proven system? Because a lot of it could just be very cunning. And you got to know what the word cunning is. So let me share that with you. Basically like deceitful. Skilled, employed in a shrewd or sly manner, as in deceiving, craftiness, guile. Okay. Adeptness and performance, dexterity. Oh, let's look up this word. I'm just curious now. Skill or adroitness in using the hands or body, and mental adroitness or skill like cleverness. So in other words, if they can lie their way out of paying anything, then they can lie out of anything to get you to pay something. And it only builds their bank account up, but they have no responsibility. Now, some will actually say, well, you're jealous. That's why you're saying that. It's not that I'm jealous. It's just the fact of your intentions. It's really about your intentions. See, we're not afraid to actually not pay nothing versus paying something. But when you're asking everybody to pay you something, but then when someone asks you to pay up something, you don't want to do it, that actually puts skepticism into someone's mind. Because it's like, okay, I won't work with this person. Like, for example, let's say that you're expecting everybody to pay to participate in this, to participate in that. So you want everybody, you want agencies that participate to pay you something. You want everybody that is participating to pay something. You want, you almost, if you really could figure it out, if you're this cunning, you can almost figure out how you think you are worth them giving you a place to do your business and saying, oh, well, we'll pay for it for you. It's literally that bad. And some of them are so courageous and cunning that even big businesses that have small minds, oh yeah, there's actually a chapter called that, Big Business, Small Mind. That is in my book. And I should bring this topic up sometime. And this has everything to do with everybody that wants something paid to them, but they don't want to be involved with anything else. Why? Because if they were involved, the more that they get involved, the more that people are going to find out certain things. The reality is they're just looking for their retirement payment to be in there, so to speak. Like you're growing up to want all this retirement money. So you got these real get rich quick schemes going on. So you're using different ways of developing it. And some people, because their strengths are in the performing art, they're able to utilize that. It's just they hadn't figured out yet how to get free office space where instead of it just being free, they have to pay them to go into the office. So if they could figure that part out, oh my God, man, I think I'd probably want to run. And you know what they'll do? They'll say, well, it's a proven system. And if I could do it, then you could do it. Well, here's the problem. I call this, when it comes to cunning, shady business, I call this, and it's actually a term that I use, big business, small minds. I basically call that, man, I'm getting tired now. My mind just dropped out. Just because I think I gotten too excited about something. Anyway, it's gonna come back to me because it's important. Basically, what's happening is that they want everything given to them, and they feel like they have that they are empowered with all this value, and therefore they don't want to miss any of the value. So it's a one-way street. It's called the value and gloating. Basically what it is, it's allowing the minds, there's specific terms that I use even when it comes to value. Value and gloating is basically a false way of gaining money for a business to actually look real. And sometimes you don't know it. You just don't know it because they are just building up this value system that they have, and they are expecting everybody else to be able to do it because they see that they had the success and can do it. But that's not how you do it. It's really the person who lies the best. It's almost political. I hate to say it that way, but it is true. It's like this defining characteristic. It's basically, we call it value and deceptiveness. Okay, which in a way has not been proven yet as to how they can make that an exact law, because there are a lot of people doing it. It isn't just it's not just what do they call it? Multi-marketing wannabe. It's actually other people trying to start other things, and they feel that they actually have the value to, and they expect you to pay that value, even if it's above the market price. Some of them are actually that good where they'll keep it at the market price, but it doesn't really do much of anything. See, in modeling and talent, you can't promise bookings either way. Even if you are a pro model, you can't promise them, oh, you will get direct bookings. It's possible that they could get direct bookings. We're going to list them in that perspective, but the majority of models and artists out there already know that, even the superstar, they understand that, but they have a value, so they know how to dictate certain things where they can actually put a price on it, right? That works. But the difference between them doing a value, it's more of a receptive value, not a deceptive value. See the difference? Deceptive value is deceiving someone to pay for something that in the end has no value in it for the other person. In other words, you're saying, you're given this promise that it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and the other thing. But there is nothing being receptive. Also, if you're doing business to business contracts, you're expecting everybody to pay to you, but you don't want to be involved with other people or other businesses. That is deceptive value. Why? Because what you're basically telling them is that I'm all the value. I don't need anything that's related to you. So you have no reception. There is no reception. All it is it's all about you and your company, and that's it. It ain't got nothing to do with whether or not you could be receptive to other companies' needs and to be able to work and collaborate with them. And that's why I explain that collaborations aren't really done in the correct way because of this deceptive value situation. Again, big business, small mind. And it's part of the mindset of how things happen. But again, that could be, it's not just the performing art, just any business. Now, why is it, I'm going to use an example because I've heard some of this. Why is it that someone like Beyonce or Taylor or any of these big brands that you know about, they're superstars and they're performing, how they can be so receptive in helping to do fundraising projects and all that, right? Why does it take a supermodel or superstar or even a artist star, like it could be just an international pop star or whatnot, where they're interested in helping nonprofits and different things like that? Why is it that they could be receptive in their value, but you have agencies that will lie about everything? They turn around and I had one agency, no lie, that would turn around and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and this and that and the other thing. And by the time I got through with everything, it was almost like $5,000 worth of, and this is like, this was, believe it or not, this happens even in New York in a hot area. That's why I'm very careful anymore. They want this, 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 and this. And then when I asked them to be involved with something with SLMTA, they were like, well, we wouldn't be able to afford it. So you're telling me, okay, that for the past 3 weeks, you have told me that you only pay this or this or this, and trying to explain to me how you only have to pay certain amounts of certain things. Now, I'm sure they probably were lying either way. It don't matter. But let's just say like $500 is all that's coming out of pocket, but you're telling me about $5,000 worth of stuff where you're also getting like $4,000 a pop on every single trainer that you got going in there, plus the quote unquote bookings that you're saying. So if I was to add all this up, you're making a pretty good profit, but you're telling me that you would not want to be receptive to SLMTA projects? That just doesn't make sense. So it's all about you. And you know what the person was saying, and this isn't the only person that's been saying that. Oh, it gives you a chance to grow, they say. It's expansion for you, and there's a lot of value for you. And I was like, no, there isn't. First of all, it's just pocketing you up $5,000 more throughout the year for this, and that. If you want to actually collaborate correctly and actually help an agency grow, then you can work with them both ways in their projects, not make it a one-way street. And then, of course, they would come up with this excuse, well, if you are worth like $70,000, right? What would you do to bring in to be able to cover that $70,000? I said, first of all, that wasn't even the question. That wasn't even what I was discussing. Your mind is still on your pocketbook. I'm telling you, why is it that you are not able to collaborate with an agency? You're not answering that question. You keep going around the block about value. First of all, if I'm worth $70,000 and you want to know what I need to do to get that $70,000, it's not to hire you because you're not worth it. You're looking for somebody else to give you the $70,000 to be able to pay me. So don't even go there, okay? I know what your tricks are. You can be you can be very sly with dumbbells, but I'm telling you, I've known enough in this industry as well to know when you're lying. And you are lying straight to my face, and it doesn't matter. And boy, was that the end of that conversation. And yes, I did. I actually closed it out with you're shady. And not only are you shady, but I'm keeping an eye on every last little thing because you right now need to know the true value of who you are instead of lying to people to get the value. So no, I'm not afraid to bring it up. You want to close me up? You want to close my mouth? The only thing you can do is press the block button because I am going to bring it out to the open how disgusting some places are with their deceptive values. All right, now that I've preached, that was the climax of tonight's sermon. Lordy, at what is it? Almost 2 a.m. Oh, smokes! Wow. Okay. Almost 2 a.m. and I've made all that noise in an apartment. Ooh, on a live. All right, folks. So anyway, it's getting pretty late. It's getting extremely late as well. I just wanted to share these different things, but I don't, I love each and every one of you. I really hope that what I am talking about, at the very least, you can consider those changes. When I put values to certain things, I don't put them in what I'm valued at. I put it as what what the actual project is valued at. Like one now that it's pushed to 2022, the masquerade ball is really a value of $150 just for the masquerade ball to walk in there. But I'm actually doing it at 200, free meals, all you can eat, award ceremony and dancing. Plus you also can get a couple photos. It's when you want to purchase your photo diaries. If you want to do that, then that's where those other fee charts come in. Or if you want to have a photo with the celeb artist that will be there, then what we are doing is we are basically saying we're not actually charging it, but we are. But we figure it'd be $25 per photo with the artist, but it would actually go to the artist. We're already paying them to actually be there as the host, as you know, some of them might sing a couple of numbers, whatever the case is, but this isn't a concert, this is an award ceremony, you know? So the idea is that they'll be there and we're gonna be doing showcases and everything. It's a great thing, but what I've been learning truths of is some of these agencies would actually not get involved because why? A lot of the people that they actually have that they're claiming is all these pro models and all that are actually people that are not paying for half the stuff that's happening. They're just putting a big show on. If they legitimately are actually doing what they're doing, then they would have the guts to say, oh, this is, they would have the audacity to know if there's something real going on. Oh, I want to do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm calling that out as well, because there is a lot of that stuff going on out there as well. And don't get me wrong, I'm doing the same thing to an extent. Okay, so I'm going to be honest, like there are certain things that I'm doing where Iris shows up or whatnot, because she is one of our you know, pro models and things like that within the agency. So, but I never, ever, ever say that none of my pro models will ever pay for a certain thing. Because why? Because then, again, that becomes deceptive value. If, for example, I mean, if that was the case, then I would probably say, hey, can I have my pro model go in with your pro models to the showcase? Because if you're doing the same thing there, why not make it even more real? Let's bring my pro models in too, and we'll all have a pro model acclamation. It'll even look even more real, right? But that's not what's going on. But they're using those individuals to be able to pretend what's really going on, and that is that they need more people to participate in that. I mean, that's just the way that it goes. It's like fake famous, but on a way of business value, which again is the deceptive value. Fake famous, if you were to put these two together, it would be like pretending that you're doing more in your business than what you actually are doing. So you have to have people that are working within your company to try to show, okay, exactly what your company is doing, when in reality, that's not what's happening. I mean, no, wait a minute. In reality, that is what's happening. Where it's not the reality is the fact that you actually have the other part of what you're trying to accomplish. What they need to do is they need to actually show who they really are in the company and brand themselves into the company, showing real live examples of their actual resume. You may know how to do certain things. Don't get me wrong, like I shared some of that today where I was improvising an argument with somebody owing me $100. So I was happy that I was so excited, like somehow or another, my friend lapped around 5 times, like when we were running, and I was trying to figure out why I didn't even make it around one. So, I know how to improv, basically, is what I'm getting at, I guess. But it doesn't really do anything if a client doesn't say, hey, I like what you're doing. Would you be interested in wanting to sign a contract with us to do, like, I don't know, voiceover of this or improv of that or something like that. So maybe even the train. See, with me, the whole purpose of me actually providing value, what like I'm doing, is to show people actually what my knowledge is, but I'm not also afraid to tell you the truth either. There will be those who will come to me. They'll either X me out because they don't want to hear certain things that they know that they're doing wrong. And the things that they actually agree with me will be the things where they'll be all over the place. Like, oh man, yes, that's lovely. Yeah, I agree with you. I understand exactly what you're saying. Oh no, I've been hearing you. You've been doing well and all this. But they will tune you out if it is something that they feel as if you are attacking, I guess, if you will say. But to be honest, I'm giving you real live examples of what's going on in this industry, both as a model and a talent, as well as the industry as a whole. Why do you think SAG is so strict about who they deal business with? If we all could literally just focus the real way, we probably wouldn't even need half the agencies that we have. They're showing up because of a lot of some of these places are just flat out like, you just have to be careful, put it to you that way. But again, I don't want to discourage anyone from doing their business either. What I am going to discourage you from, though, is deceptive value. If you want to collaborate, then show that you want to collaborate. If you don't want to collaborate, then just leave it alone. Leave that topic alone. You know what I mean? But understand that if you're advertising collaborations, that you mean what you say. Is it a collaboration, or is it a deceptive value that's just going to go and give you something? And you'll get the hints because it'll come out of their own lips when they say, oh man, I should have like charged them for participating, but you know what? No, not this time. It'll come right out in the writing. It don't matter, because what's in your mind is gonna happen. It will show up. You can't hide it. And even if you thought you could hide it this time, it's going to show up for real the next time, unless you actually really do a surprise, and that is change how you are actually doing business. That would be the only way that I could see you actually having a surprise. It would not surprise me if all of a sudden there was charges. And agencies should not have to be, the only one that should really be charging anything is convention. because that's what they're making the money off of and stuff like that. Agencies should not have to be charging other agencies. And I have to find out, I'm going to be very honest, because I always am in this situation. I'm going to have a talk with part of my risk team to find out if that's even a law. Because I'll be honest, I don't know if it is actually truthfully a law or not. Like where agencies could actually charge other agencies for other things that they are doing. Because there has to be a reason why they love charging other agencies, these types of agencies, but then they don't want to actually pay out to the other agency who's doing things. It just doesn't make sense. But I thought conventions charge the agencies, and then the agencies would charge the models and the talent for their education. I didn't think that agency had the audacity to do the same thing that a convention could do, which is develop a showcase and say, okay, there's value in this. So in order for you to do this, you're going to have to pay me this. And then you can, it just doesn't make sense, because then I would have to say, wouldn't that be a conflict of interest? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, because I've never done that. I'm always fair. You know, I'll pay some, because I work with agencies. I'm not going to lie. I work with agencies. Sometimes I'll even, if I have it, and it has to be my own equity, it cannot be something that was invested to me. Okay. If I have it in my equity, then, and it's something that I believe is going to benefit my models or whatnot, then yes, it's something that I would love to do. But then I would make that money right back, because they're giving back in a way of participating in my events. So to me, it just, but again, it's usually models and talent. In other words, I wouldn't be saying, hey, Ford models, in order for you to send your models to the masquerade ball, we're going to need $1,200 just because you're a professional thing. You understand what I'm getting at? Because then that would literally, I don't know how you make sales doing that. I really don't. I mean, there are some agencies that say that that's a proven success. But how do you do that? How can you, I would be very curious to find how you can actually sell something to another agency that you're already making money off of from your models and talent. Again, I have an inclining that I don't think it is legal. But even if I asked the union, they would flat out, in their way, they would say it's illegal. Why? Because it's just another upfront cost to them. So what I need to find out is if it's actually something, because it may not be happening. It could be something new, because there are a few agencies doing it. So I'm not saying that every agency, and it's local agencies, where they register a company for a few years and then they stop it, or they got administrative revulsion. The worst thing you can have is have your LLC or incorporation revoked administratively. So all of a sudden, if you're going to say you're not an agency, but you have an agency website and it's up and running, and it's under the name that was actually revoked administratively, first of all, it's not good business. It's not good business. That's putting it lightly. Second off, you could probably get in very, very deep trouble, even close to imprisonment, because you're actually doing fraud. That's a type of fraud. So you honestly have to be very careful about how you're handling business, what you're doing to set it up, how it's set up, all those different things. Um, yeah, so you get to learn a little bit from me, but then, some of you that might be like, oh yeah, I'm learning a lot from you, all of a sudden might start disappearing slowly. Why? Because I'm actually letting the cat out of the box. But I'm happy to be able to do so because some of you are actually doing it out of pure ignorance. And there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. In fact, in God's eyes, he says he winks at ignorance. It's when you start knowing. Then it becomes stupid. Stupid is when you know that it's wrong, but you go and decide to do it anyway. That's the true definition. So, I mean, say it for what it is, okay? I mean, I'm not being stupid for telling you the truth. I might be stupid because I'm laying out the truth. You get the difference? Because you don't want me to lay out the truth. And I know you don't want me to lay out the truth, but I was too stupid to do so. I love it. I love it. It's awesome, isn't it? Isn't it awesome when you can actually take an absolute negative and turn it into a positive? And that's another good thing about me too, if you know me personally, because it's not about finding ways to get someone in trouble. It's about finding ways to make sure that the people that don't know about the trouble can actually make the changes and get out of trouble. That's what the real goal is here. All right. Now, if you try to do something on the terms of SLMTA, meaning, like trying to develop rivalries and things like that, then that's where I start acting out. I have to be very honest. Acting out basically means really send the audits and actually let you see for yourself what kind of trouble that you could have been in that now you're going to go into. Because the whole idea is for you to see what is wrong and to make the changes. But if you're going to try to use this way of me explaining the scenario as a weapon against me for saying, you're just talking too much or whatever, you're too negative, whatever those judgment calls that you may have, those judgment excuses, these kind of things actually develop rivalries when you're doing business, and they are aligned very naturally well. And what happens is you cause your own karma, because as you're developing your rivalry, by default, you're incriminating yourself. So the only best thing that you could do really is to keep your mouth shut. That's why some of them even go that far and say, oh, I'd rather say nothing. I keep my mouth shut. I know what I'm doing and it will be done. But in reality, they're still doing the same stuff that they've been always doing. They might twist it up a little bit to make it look like there is some changes, but the reality is it's still the same practice. You can't really, I use this term a lot even in my book. You can't really change the devil's mind. You can't. And that's the reality. So the best thing to do is to be authentic, be real, know how to do business, know what you are doing, know your value, and you'll be straight. You will be very straight. I promise you, you'll be straight with everything that you need to know, and how you're doing business and everything. It's going to be a beautiful thing. But if you're going to lie your way through, at some point, you're going to know yourself when you're walking on eggshells, because that is the point where you will start realizing, oh, I'm incriminating myself, So that's where we are at right now. If you have any questions about tonight's topic, you can put them in the comment section down below. It was a very beautiful night. I didn't realize how long I was online, but apparently it shows about 2 hours. It's probably about 2 hours and a half by now. I believe that I started around 11:20. Yeah, so it would be about 2 hours and a half. But I really do enjoy my time being with you guys. If you hadn't subscribed yet, please subscribe at the SL Models and Talent Agency LLC's YouTube channel. It is the gold icon with the red ring around it. Subscribe there. Also, and I got it pinned right here in the Facebook thing, you can become a member. If you consider becoming a member, please do so at www.patreon.com/SLMTA. Again, this is the SL Models and Talent Agency community membership page, and it does help with our community education program showcases and yearly conventions and whatnot. So all that money that we do receive in that is going towards scholarship programs for that. It eliminates a lot of loaning and things to that nature. Also, we are going to have fundraising opportunities online. And we also are going to have, for those, because we have the guidelines for the tuition aid grant of how much it will be. And the most of the grant would be about 50% of the total tuition. Okay, that's what the most would be. And it will be based off of income. So we would have to have the reports of the income, okay, if you want to have that. And what we will also do, depending on if you're in a poverty level, we will also give you fundraising paperwork to where you can do month to month and have different sponsors help to pay your month to month balance sheets that is owed so that it doesn't come directly out of pocket. If you have family members or friends that would want to support that. So that is also an option as well. Otherwise, it would after that, then it would be out of pocket, okay, for the rest of it. So in any case, it was a great evening. I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you a little bit later today in our prime time video. Probably, I'm going to say, because I got a little bit of stuff to do tomorrow morning, or later this morning, I should say. So it's probably going to be about 2 p.m. that I'll be, 3 p.m. to 3:30. We'll be doing a prime time video, and that's weather permitted. Not that it's going to rain in on me, but there is supposed to be severe storms. So if there is no internet, then I'm probably not going to be able to do it until electricity comes back on. So things could be a little bit out of touch tomorrow. So if everything goes well, then at the very least, you might get to hear the thunder in the background. Maybe not, because I think I got a lot of the background stuff out. If you still hear background things happening, then let me know through the course of the videos. But otherwise, I think a lot of that was cut out with our audio or a virtual audio plug that we have developed. We'll let you know about our first fundraising event as well that we're going to be doing online. I believe it's going to be a bingo night. We were trying to do this bingo night for a while. I think that I finally got the best platform for what I want to do with that. And I'm going to try to see if maybe I can get one of my good friends to actually host that. So that will be great as well. I look forward to speaking with you all soon. Have a very blessed evening. Until then.